I say thanks and praises continue to the Most High King Selassie, Jah, Rastafari, and Empress Melina, Mother and Father of Adoration. Yeah, Abraham and our Sarah in this modern time and dispensation. You understand the meditation? Yes, try to give thanks in life, and thanks, try. Yeah, well, say Daddy Marcus TV, run by the Abatekil Foundation, presented by our Father Joe the Ghetto Diplomat, aka Germazian. Yeah, we say Falla De Money. Yeah. Falla De Money for see what go on. This is not a new concept to most people still. Yeah, that's that from morning. Yeah. You know the coronavirus, you know. You bring a whole heap of thing to your attention. Some people have it at them full attention while maybe a decent portion never that penetrated upon that level there. Whatever it is, the situation is now and present and relevant. When the man said clear and present danger, yeah, hit that. So right now we look on a thing in the rising. Because this instability is not good for any one of them. Even the man who is your enemy. No. Because him can't have you in this state of non-production for too long. So this thing soon set itself upon a course of recovery still. Left up to if a next wave of the thing. Because maybe an economic benefit there to a set or a group within the community. We'll have the power to induce the thing. You know, speculation still, but that's how it go. You don't know really where this thing actually manifests from. Yeah, me have a copy of the Feta Negas, the Law of the Kings. And it's prefaced by His Imperial Majesty, the King of Kings, Lord of Lords, conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, Emperor Haile Selassie the First. And when the reasoning, it's always good to hear what His Majesty had to say still. I never even really planned to even do this. But when they're there, I say, yeah, let's take up this. And I read forward earlier an idea. I said this is the preface to the Feta Nagast, the Law of the Kings. Conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah, Haile Selassie the First, elect of God, Emperor of Ethiopia. The long and great history of our country demonstrates that our people have always both administered and lived according to the law. Our people were at first ruled by Mosaic law, but after the advent of Christianity to Ethiopia, they came later to be governed by the Feta Nagast, a work combining both spiritual and secular matters, the former part pertaining to the spiritual, the latter to the temporal affairs of our people. The Feta Nagast has been venerated, supported, and applied by both the government of our empire and by the church. The names of scholars learned in this law are famous in the history of Ethiopia, particularly since the reign of Emperor Zara Jacob, when both the study and enforcement of the Feta Nagast began. By the providence of the Almighty, this bulwark of the law was preserved for our people. Venerated for many centuries, it provided for our people an invaluable source of legal principles. When we ascended our imperial throne and enacted a penal code compiled on the basis of the Feta Nagast, we made all necessary provision for the printing of the Feta Nagast in order that it might be available to our people. Owing, however, to the invasion of our country by the enemy, The copies which had already been printed but not distributed were burnt together with the printing press. When, with the assistance of the Almighty, we returned victorious to our country and subsequently made provision for the codification of our laws, realizing that those who had helped us in the process of codification had availed themselves of the provisions of the Fete Nagast, we ordered that its text be printed together with a commentary thereon and offered to our people for their assistance. We are pleased that this great work, for so many centuries the basis of law and the administration of justice in our country, has now, under the auspices of the Faculty of Law of the University to which we have given our name, been translated into English so that it may be known to scholars of other countries. No modern legislation which does not have its roots in the customs of those whom it governs can have a strong foundation. The effort which has been made by the Faculty of Law of our university to disseminate the knowledge not only of the new codification, but also of the historically rooted legal practices of Ethiopia, which by the providence of the Almighty we have preserved, and which are the source of our new legislation, is befitting and deserving of our warmest approval. Given at our Imperial Palace in Addis Ababa, this 29th day of August, 1968, Haile Selassie I, Emperor. Yeah, so Fete Negas, you know, the law of the king, law of the kings. Yeah, I think what His Majesty is saying, that even the constitution that he promulgated in 1931 bears reference to the Fete Negas. So it's like, this in itself is evidence that, even further evidence, I should say, that my call, and the call of others, I'm sure, for the restoration of the Ethiopian monarchy at the helm of the administration of human affairs is not something wayward and too far out for consideration. It's like, this is trying to say that for the United States as an entity to have begun its official journey in 1776 and has realized such a dominant place in the affairs of man, in global affairs, with a national motto of E pluribus unum, yeah, out of many one. It's like Jamaica. It's a cosmopolitan, multicultural society that needs to be governed. Now, what this is saying is that the imperial government of Ethiopia has a track record, a distinguished track record of governing over multicultural societies. And what is the world save a multicultural society? Yeah. So, on the back of COVID-19, on the back of automation, artificial intelligence, on the back of world design for one global government, were we to be given a choice, I would advocate that we choose for the Lion of Judah. All those things that we've discussed in terms of providence, as you say, favoring the Ethiopian monarchy, the Ethiopian people, who are known for stretching forth their hands unto God. Yeah. All of them things there. about the Kill Foundation, basis of the thing is to support the Crown Council of Ethiopia and its churches, especially the Imperial Society of St. George of Lalibela, you know. And we ourselves as the Abate Kill Foundation, we have certain issues we want to tackle. Chief among them is economic empowerment within black community. Yeah. And we say the basis of our enslavement has been economic. And so any reversal of fortunes from the legacy of our enslavement must come under economic lines. And I think this political independence that was granted to most former British colonies, and I think in the French as well, there's some relaxing of colonial control under the guise of independence. Yeah, and we see clearly that, well, that's a farce, but at the end of the day, you know, progress must be made. You understand? And we see now, with the power of hindsight, and we can look at some of the events that have transpired in our most recent history. I think advocating for the return of the Ethiopian monarchy as a national governing entity amongst the community of nations, yeah, is kind of necessary at this time. But yeah, really and truly, we say this COVID-19, it highlights a problem for the black community. Now, many might say, well, then they're giving away the secrets, but it's not a secret. This is a global thing. Everybody see it for themselves. Black man, especially away from his homeland, whether it be continental or diasporan, African, is at great pains to have no national dispute with anyone. Because those of his citizens living abroad in countries like in Europe and United Kingdom and America and stuff like that, the food, Africans and people of African descent, they are not in control of the food supply chain. Going forward, so I've been looking into issues regarding national security and food security, or food security as a national security issue. And we as a community in the blacks, we as a black community, especially in the UK here, we want to go and get something to eat. Yes, we're gonna go to the Caribbean shop, aren't we? I will love Jamaican food or stuff like that, the West Indian food and stuff like that. This West Indian food is very pricey. You understand? Also, there's a high number of people doing this form of business. It makes you think the popularity of the thing, the sustainability of the thing. You know, what are the intricacies of this market? But guaranteed, very few of these restaurants could say, I have a connection with, say, a West Indian who has imported this food from the West Indies. It surely will be most often in cases that the restaurant buys its food in bulk from an Asian man, a Turkish man, an English man. It's rarely gonna be a West Indian man. So, like England is 50% or thereabouts food secure. Meat production is up. They can afford to export stuff like that. Where they fall short, their food bill consists of a large amount spent on fruits and vegetables. So now the black community in Britain, they don't we don't feed ourselves. We don't own the channels of distribution in the food supply chain. We are being fed. So that once we realize then that as a community we are at pains to survive economically, because what comes in to the economy, the black community, by way of wages and salaries is being spent right away on one of the most essential commodities, food. For any form of economic growth within the black community, we must reduce our expenditures to external groups. It might sound like the system in reverse, but what is necessary is necessary. So we have a culture. I think one of the problems cited within the discussion on global food security is how homogeneous the global diet is. So basic thing is there is a danger in the majority of the world population adopting the same diet. So basically it says that resources must be allocated to the production of this diet at the expense of other food that's slated to put a strain on soil. It's gonna cause perhaps extinction, if you allow it, of certain vital food crops, because they say then therefore to have a varied diet from a cultural perspective. This is how the variety comes in. If each culture sticks predominantly to their type of food, they dedicate and allocate resources to produce their type of food, and so the variety, the variation, it doesn't put a strain on one particular food commodity. Do you understand? So like normally they speak of grain and rice and all these things when it comes to like crunch commodities in food and global world supply of these and all of these things. The black community in Britain needs to take hold and take stock of this situation, because as I said, we cannot move forward economically without being able to feed ourselves. That is self-reliance. That is what Marcus Garvey preached and His Majesty advocated. You understand? So we know in Britain, when we go to the green grocers, Man, we have something, man, him say Jamaica it come from. When you check it still, like all the avocado, might all come from Costa Rica. I'm sure him know say he's a yard man and he asks about this thing. He might tell you say Jamaica it come from. You understand? Yeah, deal it. Simple mean, remember say me I talk to someone at the Jamaica High Commission in London about food. Was voicing my concern about importing Jamaican food to Britain. She asked me what are some of the foods I'd like to import from Jamaica. I said I was thinking from an economic perspective, and I was thinking that along the grains lines would be the best thing, because then there's a durability in terms of entering the market, not having an image, a recognizable brand or whatever that you need time to grow. You don't want to invest in perishables, not having a proper access to markets for long term like grains. Like specifically I spoke to her about red peas, and she cut me short. She said Jamaica don't grow red peas for exportation. So it's like this is Jamaica, this is our culture. We say rice and peas on a Sunday. That's a thing where most Jamaicans are going to try to uphold. Matter of fact, you go to the Caribbean restaurant and rice and peas. You understand? They will give you hard food and everything. But the fact remains, it says there's a demand for the thing. Now, building self-reliance in the community, if you could have said, alright then, that channel of distribution is wholly Jamaican owned or wholly West Indian owned. That would be good. But right now, the situation in Jamaica and the West Indies is that locally grown crops, they are losing the battle against imported goods, just because of this dollar devaluation and World Bank and IMF restrictions and regulations and all of these things. The glut of the market of inorganically produced food who have a cosmetic appearance but nutritional value less, and then the locally grown food is being replaced by seedlings of this imported food, so the original food not there. So then right there and then the health of the nation is compromised. The health of the black community in Britain is compromised. So, and I'm sure the situation is similar in the United States. Across Europe, mainland Europe, it must be worse than what it is in England. In terms of deprivation, in terms of like not being able to access the things that are from your culture, food-wise. So, we can see say the black community exposed at a very crucial point. Yeah, because we're not feeding ourselves. So, especially in the West Midlands here, it would be good, because in certain philanthropic organizations you have some West Indians who are at the helm or high up in the hierarchy who can wield some influence. It would be good for some workshops or something like that, some awareness raising of procedures to enter the food supply chain from that perspective of black community growth. You understand? Because when we're so exposed, we don't control the means to our stomach. Somebody else is gonna feed our people, and they're gonna obey them, because this is the master that provides the food. You understand? Now with COVID-19, it's showing you that we are at the mercy of the authorities. You understand what I did? Or we understand that there are precautions that need to be taken. We understand that this case requires democracy to be put on hold. Yeah, to say the least. But yeah, we know we have to do a lot of things to curtail the impact of this disease, this virus, man-made or not. Yeah, there's something killing people, and human interaction is the catalyst. Yeah, so that must be minimized. We understand all of this, but this situation, it gives us a chance to take stock. Now, there are ones who have been taking stock for ages, ones who have been making inroads into the problem, but there is a significant problem. It means that therefore the majority has not gotten done to what these few have been doing. Commendations to them. But what is required now is a more concerted effort from more people regarding this agenda. This agenda of self-government. Yes. Because that's what it boils down to. Leadership. Yeah. Black community leadership is in question. I think it's hard for someone to come and say cast the first stone type of thing, like, okay, you over there so not guilty of this. I think everyone playing a fair share in certain way, because if those who took it over and were doing something about it, they fell short, then to replace it, where were the others in the community? So we're all guilty of putting black people in this position. Yeah, but seriously still, food security is a striking problem for blacks in the UK and in the diaspora. Yes. Think with the whatever economic impetus there is within the black community, I think there is a chance for ones to come together commercially to try and place black owned entities in the food distribution channels, especially to our own community. No one will give us any preferential arrangements. I think there are people who dominate the food channels already, but new businesses will be needed, and it's a chance for new businesses to enter this market, but with this focus of although it being a commercial venture, there is a social element to it. We as a community, we need to become self-reliant. That's the whole truth of the matter. We are so exposed. Not that you want to be in conflict with any nation, but you can't afford to be in conflict with any nation. It's hard for you now to say you're going to stand your ground on certain issues, because there's forces that will try to overrun your standpoint based upon the weaknesses you have. We're exposed as a community, as a race. We're vitally exposed. 40% or more of the world's arable land, and yet still we're importing 35 billion pounds worth of food as an African continent. When they say water is an issue in Africa, where every man now is boring and accessing the water table for himself, it's like uncontrolled dispersal of the water. It's leading to a problem. I'm not so quite convinced exactly about that, but it is an issue. Water is an issue that is intertwined with food security. These are national security issues. You understand? Now, as a household, worst case scenario, you've had to stop working because you have a self-employed position. Your income is not coming in. You have to continue to eat. It's like you're in a prime position to have to be part of a distribution network. Like people have to distribute food to you for your own survival. Now remember those food lines in the USSR, the people lining up for just commodities like bread and stuff like that. There's an identification process involved in that. We don't want to see COVID-19 reduce us to this, but when you look at what the implications are, worst case scenarios, and try to defend against them, you cannot erase this possibility. Yes, China has demonstrated that, okay, they have now got the thing under control. We are hearing sporadic reports of people becoming reinfected after having tested positive and then overcome the illness. They are now being tested again and they're positive again. There are sporadic reports of these things. So what is on the agenda? It's likely that there will be a second wave of the thing, entrenching people in their homes for longer periods. You understand? Remember, they haven't found that vaccine yet. So, still up in arms. Hydrochloroquine